It's Monday, and that can mean only one thing. Another episode of AJ's Ranking Again. Yes, so welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Every Monday, or every other Monday, we'll see how it goes, I'm going to post a ranking video of a film series. Today I'm going to be looking at Highlander. Yes, I'm going to look at the 5 Highlander live-action movies. I'm not going to include the animated movie they've done, Search for Vengeance, least of all because I can't remember it. I don't really fancy rewatching it, so maybe consider that. No, it probably isn't last place, but there you go. But no, this is for the live-action, the 5 live-action Highlander films that were created between 1986 to about 2007. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before I actually begin my ranking, please consider subscribing if you're a new viewer. I've got a lot of content. I have a series of videos. I was going to say films then. A series of videos. On a Monday, I do post a ranking video. On a Wednesday, I have AJ's Collectible Corner, where I take an item from my collection and I take a closer look at it. There may be some surprises in there for you. On a Saturday, I will look at a part of my collection. And then I have had a lot of ad hoc videos, as in reviews, if I've seen a film. I go on a hunt maybe once a week. I've got openings, all this sort of stuff, wealth of stuff, you know, sort of stuff. But yeah, so this is AJ's ranking again, the Highlander franchise. So why don't we get into it? Okay, so I'm not going to waste no time. In 5th place, my worst Highlander film. Remember, this is my opinion, no one else's, just mine, and my opinion isn't everyone else's opinion. We'll have our own opinion. We'll all rank them in a different way, probably. So yeah, this is just what I think. So let's get to it. Yeah, so 5th place. Okay, 2007 Highlander: The Source. Yes, I bet you thought I was going to say Highlander: The Quickening, but no, Highlander: The Source, 2007. Now, this is a film that was a spin-off from the TV series with Adrian Paul. This film does star Adrian Paul again. Peter Wingfield returns from the TV series and Jim Burns. It has no connection to the original Highlander film franchise at all. It's a story unto itself, and it was meant to star a sort of sequel. It was meant to star a trilogy of films. But it never came to pass because it is a load of rubbish. Now, interestingly, I actually saw this film a year before it got a release in this country. Not that that's saying much. The film actually had a release in Russia, a physical media release in Russia a year before anywhere else in the world. It was titled Topua, I believe, T-O-P-U-A. I might have the spelling wrong, can't remember. I do have a copy of it somewhere, a Russian copy in a box. And I'd sourced it from Russia, and I saw it this way. The film was released over there as a sort of, I want to say as an experiment. It was subsequently recalled and recut again for a release a year later. Although there wasn't really much difference in what you got then and what you subsequently got. The story follows Duncan MacLeod, played by Adrian Paul, in this sort of a rundown future where the world's going to crap, and so it's sort of future set, and they go on a hunt for the source of them being immortals, like the first immortal, you know, how it all came about. It's a very dull film. It's uninteresting. The story is boring. There's nothing in this film to warrant anything. There's not even nothing to warrant a rewatch in this film. It was a bad idea. It's badly conceived. It's badly acted. Adrian Paul just looks like he doesn't care. And he did care about this character, believe you me. Yeah, so my 5th spot would be Highlander: The Source from 2007. Now, in my 4th place, I'm going to put Highlander 2: The Quickening from 1991. Now, I remember when this film came out. I remember I was in school. I remember the posters for it. There was a massive advertising campaign. There was a lot of interest. There was a lot of excitement around my age group, so to speak, because another Highlander film, yeah, you know, Sean Connery's back, Christopher Lambert's back, but then we got the film, and yeah, the story, obviously, this is one where you come to find out, you know, in the original cut anyway, at least, that, you know, these are not people, these are like, they're people from a planet called Zeist, and there's an uprising on that planet. People who get caught, they get sent back in time to Earth in the past to fight down the ages, blah blah blah, all this sort of rubbish, right? Just the fact that you've now taken and made them into these sort of aliens, so to speak, from another planet, and stupidness. Now, this is a film that I can revisit, and I do revisit from time to time, because it's a very interesting film with an interesting production history, because the film actually, for a film that's as is received as bad as this, you know, you've had the Renegade version, you've had director's cuts, you know, there's a wealth of different cuts. You had them come back later on to film new parts for this film, to insert into the film. You've had special effects cleaned up and all this sort of stuff over time. So it's got a really rich history in that sort of making of sense, and this is why I return to it from time to time, because it's a fascinating project of a film in that sense. In one of the later cuts, they did edit out all the stuff about them being, any mention of them being from another planet, and it was more like that they come from this historic past and then flung forward to then fight down the ages, so to speak. They tried to tie it in a bit more, you know. It's a very interesting film. Obviously, you had the return of Sean Connery, which was wonderful. And you had Michael Ironside as the villain, really chewing up the scenery over the top. Villain is a bit silly at times. The film doesn't make much sense. There's a story about the Earth, the ozone of the Earth crumbling. So they've set up this shield around the Earth, and the Earth become dark and dingy and all this sort of thing. And you know, yeah, a very sort of eco type message within the film. But ultimately, it's a bad film. It is a bad film, yes. But it's a Highlander film that I can revisit and rewatch, just because there's such an interesting, like I said, and rich back history to the film itself. But yeah, so that'd be my fourth spot, Highlander 2, The Quickening. Now, moving on into third place is 1994 Highlander The Sorcerer, Highlander 3, or Highlander The Final Dimension, depending where you live. Yeah, so now in this film, it's like a continuation from Highlander 1. You come to find out that Connor's kind of been tricked into that he won the prize, because there are these other immortals, these evil immortals that in the past were trapped by magic in a cave, and it kind of excluded them from the contest, from winning the prize. So Connor won the prize, but when these immortals managed to escape from their from being imprisoned and in this bubble of magic, it sort of restarts again, and Connor sort of loses that prize and has to fight another. So they keep trying these different ideas on how to continue this franchise, because obviously in the first one, you know, there can be only one, and that sort of thing, and it's so very finale. It's kind of finality to that first film. But yeah, so this is Mario Van Peebles stars as the villain. Again, it's a bad film, and to be honest with you, I did struggle with 2 and 3, where to rank them, because I would revisit The Quickening more than what I'd revisit this, because of that interesting backstory to The Quickening. But ultimately I put The Quickening top, because all the stuff about the aliens and the different planet and all this sort of stuff, just ridiculous and stupidness. But yeah, so Highlander, the Final Dimension, The Sorcerer is my third spot. It's not very memorable. It does try to recapture the first film, but it ultimately fails. So yes, so that goes there. Now, for my second spot, Highlander Endgame, year 2000. Now, I was a big fan of the Highlander TV series. In its time, it was a wonderful series, and this was a film that spun off out of that. So this played as a sequel to the TV series, essentially. It does have Connor MacLeod in it, Christopher Lambert, and Adrian Paul star as well, with some familiar faces popping up from TV series. Now, this was an interesting project. It's a very cheap film, don't get me wrong, and there are bits in it where the special effects aren't finished and that, and stuff's blurred out in the background. Really very, very, very odd. But as the film goes, it has a lot of callbacks to the original Highlander film. It's faithful. It was produced by the same producers, actually. So they sort of knew, and they had a love for the first film. Rachel returns, who is Connor MacLeod's adoptive daughter from the first film. She's the older lady that's sort of with him in his place, who comes to his place now and then. She's the little girl that he rescued in the first one in the German scene in the past. The film opens with her, and she gets killed. His place is blown up. She dies in it, and Connor retreats into a depression, and he goes to a place called the Sanctuary. The Sanctuary is a place where it's on holy ground. It's created by the Watchers, who are in the TV series are a group of humans that watch and record. We know about the immortals, and we watch and record their goings on. So they've created this place called a Sanctuary, which basically immortals who are fed up with it all can go, and they can basically put into a long sleep, into a coma essentially, and kept alive like that, thus ensuring that no one ever wins the prize. And there's some interesting ideas in there. This immortal villain called Caleb comes into play. He knew Connor from the past, from Connor's time in Glenfinnan, and he goes in and he slaughters everyone in there, even though it's on holy ground. He slaughters everyone, and he except for Connor. So Connor comes out, and you have Duncan MacLeod and you have Connor. They're both, but it's more of a Duncan MacLeod film, don't get me wrong, with Connor in it. And this evil immortal is too powerful to fight, so they have to team up to fight him, Connor MacLeod and Duncan MacLeod. Subsequently, Connor sacrifices himself to Duncan. Duncan beheads Connor to take Connor's powers, so that Duncan's strong enough to fight this evil immortal. Now, like I said, this is a continuation of the TV series, so the prize hasn't been won at this point. The end of the film isn't the prize being won or anything like that, But yeah, for me, I enjoyed this film. It's got issues. The villains are weak, but it's very faithful to the TV series and respectful to the first film. And thusly, I enjoy it in that manner. Yeah. So, moving on to my number one spot. This is a surprise to no one, because there can be only one, and that is 1986's Highlander. Yes, Highlander with Sean Connery, Christopher Lambert. You've got the Kurgan as the villain, fantastic villain. They've always tried to copy that villain as a template in Highlander, it seems, and it's never come off. So the first Highlander film, what can I say about it? It's a fantastic film. It's the idea of having these immortals that fight through time and decapitate one another until there's one left. It's a brilliant concept for a film. It's a very sort of romantic idea, a somber, sad romantic idea. The idea that you will never die, that the loved ones around you grow old and die, and you've always got to say goodbye. It plays heavily into this idea, but it's just a brilliantly executed film. It's one of those films that developed a cult following after time, and obviously you've had 4 sequels, you've had animated film, you've had an animated TV series, and you had a wealth of years of TV series, with this. So it's an idea that people grasped and people did like, and it's this film that if you haven't seen, I would highly recommend you going to see this. I wouldn't recommend any of the others to you. Maybe Endgame if you was a fan of the TV series, or if you ever got into the TV series. But certainly Highlander 1, the gap in quality between this film and all of the sequels that probably should never have happened, is phenomenal. It's so huge. This is a go-to film. It's a classic film. It's not the most expensive of films. It's got a wonderful soundtrack by Queen. They came in to do the music and the songs for the film, A Kind of Magic, Who Wants to Live Forever, classic Queen songs that were done for this feature film. Directed by Russell Mulcahy. This is Highlander at its best. It's never been topped. There is rumours of a remake. That's been on the cards for years. At one point, I believe Ryan Reynolds' name was mentioned. I'm hoping that remake never comes to pass, because you will not do this franchise justice. So that is my rankings of the Highlander live-action movie franchises. Now, interestingly, it's not interesting. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do. Now, like I said, on Saturday, I do a look at part of my collection. So I am going to look at my Highlander collection next Saturday. Saturday coming, I should say. That encompasses everything that I have on physical media for Highlander. And there's quite a bit of it, to be honest with you. So you may be interested if you've stuck around for this video and you like Highlander. Yeah, this is AJ. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And also leave me a comment and I will reply to your comments. Tell me your rankings for these films, because I'm pretty sure that this is a franchise that's... people are going to have a lot of different opinions on this franchise. It's not an easy... people have got different tastes and that sort of thing. It's not really an easy one to rank, in that the latter films are all pretty abysmal in a sense. But I'm really interested in how you would rank this series of films. So please do consider telling me in the comments and let's have a discussion about it. Anyway, I'm getting going. This is AJ. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time and I'll see you next time around. Take care all. Goodbye.